Breaking news now. In the election year of 2024, Russia plans to increase budget spending by 26%. Prior to the presidential election in March, Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin announced on Friday that Russia plans to increase budget spending by 25.8% to 36.6 trillion rubles, $383 billion, in 2024. Reuters reports that Moscow has redirected a large portion of its budget to what it calls a special military operation in Ukraine, and that social spending will increase in the run-up to an election in which President Vladimir Putin is widely expected to run for a fourth six-year term. Mishustin, speaking in a televised government meeting, said that next year's budget plans anticipate spending equivalent to around 20.4% of GDP and Russia running a small budget deficit, with revenues expected at 35 trillion rubles. Mishustin predicted that such substantial growth will be possible thanks to the further development of our economy. The non-oil and gas revenues should be equal to or greater than the oil and gas revenues as part of this. For any shortfall in revenue from oil and gas exports, Russia must sell foreign currency from its national wealth fund and use the proceeds to buy goods and services, per its budget rule. Plans for the next 3 years' worth of government spending were the subject of much debate. According to Bloomberg News, Russia plans to significantly increase its defense spending next year, increasing it from 3.9% of GDP in 2023 to 6% of GDP in 2021. After the Polish president attempted to defuse a simmering row over grain imports, the Polish Prime Minister warned Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday not to insult Poles. Kyiv's relationship with a neighbor that has been seen as one of its staunchest allies since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of last year was shaken last week when Poland decided to extend a ban on Ukrainian grain imports. Kyiv is working to preserve land routes for grain exports, but the political theater surrounding grain imports is only helping Moscow, Zelensky told the United Nations General Assembly in New York, infuriating his neighbors. According to Reuters, Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki warned President Zelensky not to insult Poles in a speech to the UN again. The far right has criticized Morawiecki's ruling Nationalist Law and Justice (PiS) party for what it sees as the government's subservient attitude toward Ukraine ahead of Poland's parliamentary election on October 15. This, according to political analysts, has prompted PiS, which is likely to remain the largest party but may not secure a majority, to take a more combative stance toward Kyiv in the heated election. In an apparent attempt to defuse the situation, Polish President Andrzej Duda, a PiS ally, said earlier on Friday that the dispute between Poland and Ukraine over grain imports would not significantly affect good bilateral relations. I have no doubt that the dispute over the supply of grain from Ukraine to the Polish market is an absolute fragment of the entire Polish-Ukrainian relations, Duda said at a business conference. I don't think it will have much of an effect on them, so I think we should work this out amongst ourselves.